Hello and welcome to this video. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to loop through an array. So this is a JavaScript concept. You can do this in other languages as well, but I have right here this variable called Ninja Turtles. We got Leo, we got Ralph, Mikey, and Don. If you're not sure what an array is, it's almost just a variable that can hold many different values. So inside of this one variable, I have 4 different values: Leo, Ralph, Mikey, and Don. Okay, and usually when you're dealing with arrays, it's going to be arrays that are behind the scenes. They're in the browser or they're in some other location, and it's not all the time. It's not always going to be arrays that you create, but sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But the point is, an array is going to have a bunch of values that you'll want to be able to get in there and access somehow. So the way you can do that is a loop. So one of the ways we can do it is with a for loop. And the way these for loops work is we basically have to say, okay, where are we going to start? What's the condition that needs to be met? And then what are we going to do each time the loop runs? And a loop is just a piece of code that runs over and over and over again until you tell it to stop. So one way we can do it is we can set I equal to 0, and we can say we're going to keep running this loop until I is less than Ninja Turtles dot length is true or false, right? So this is going to be the condition that needs to be met. So the minute this condition is false, it's going to stop running. You got to be careful with these conditions. Sometimes you can have infinite loops, and that's not really a good thing. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to show here is every time that loop runs, we're going to add 1 to I. So the first time it runs, I is going to be 0. The second time it runs, we're going to do I++, which says take whatever I is equal to and add 1 to it. So the first time it runs, I will be 0. The next times it runs, I will be 1, and 2, and 3, and so forth. Okay, and that's important because the way we access values inside of an array is we have to use the index. Okay, so really quickly, the way we can access values in here is I can say Ninja Turtles, and then I can say the position that I want it to be in. Okay, now arrays start counting at 0. So Leo has a position of 0, Ralph has a position of 1, Mikey is 2, and Don is 3. So when I come over here and I say, all right, I'm going to alert Ninja Turtles 0, what that's saying, let's get this run. What that's saying is I need to pull out Leo. So Ninja Turtles 0 gives me Leo. So I can hit OK. I could say Ninja Turtles 2, right? We'll run that, and that gives me Mikey, and so forth. So because you can access values in the array like this, a loop is perfect. So this I is going to represent this number right here. So when I is 0, it's going to pull out Leo. When I is 1, it's going to pull out Raph. When I, is 2, it's going to pull out Mikey, and so forth. So we're able to use the way this loop works, and we can use this default functionality that will help us access things that are inside of the array. And also the alert, in case you didn't notice, right? The alert just showed that little pop-up window. Okay, so I can get rid of this. Okay, and so we have, so I equals 0, so that's where it's going to start. It's going to keep going until the length of Ninja Turtles is less than I. Now, if I alert that really quick, because we got to understand what this is doing, the length property will tell us how many things are inside this array. Now, this doesn't start counting at 0. It's always one of those fun things. So it goes in there and it goes, okay, there's 4 items in this array. Okay, and so that's why we get 4 back. All right, so that's what dot length is going to give us. It's going to give us how many items are inside of that Ninja Turtles array. All right, so now we're going to loop through. Now I got this div down here, so I'm going to select this div and I'm going to tell it to populate basically all of the items that are in the array. So what I'll do is I'll create an empty variable here. I'll call it, let's just call it message, and it'll be an empty string. Okay, it just won't have anything in it. What I'm going to do is take this variable and populate this variable with these values in the array. So I can say the first time it runs, I'm going to say message is going to be plus equal to. The plus equal says take whatever message is equal to before and add on to it. So right now message is empty. So I want to add on to it Ninja Turtles I. Okay. So let's take a look at this. So the message is empty, right? The first time it runs, it's going to say I is equal to 0, and then it does the check. So is 0 less than Ninja Turtles dot length? We know that Ninja Turtles dot length is 4, so yes, 0 is less than 4, so it will run the loop. So it takes whatever message is equal to, which is nothing, an empty string, and it adds onto it Ninja Turtles I. We know that I is 0, so Ninja Turtles 0 is going to give us Leo. Okay, and then I gets 1 added to it. So I is now 1. Is 1 less than 4? Yep, it is. Okay, so it runs again. So it takes whatever message is equal to, which is Leo now, and it's going to add on to it Ninja Turtles 1, which is Ralph. So we're going to get Leo Ralph. And then it's just going to keep going until this gives us, this is false, which will, once it's done with the loop, it'll stop running. So now that we want to print out to the page, because right now if I run this, nothing really happens. All of this is, I mean, message is getting populated. So I guess I could come down here and alert out message. Okay, so we got Leo, Ralph, Mikey, Don. And that's exactly what we wanted. Of course, we want them to be separated. We can mess with that in a minute. But I'm not going to alert that. I'm going to print it out to the page. So I'm going to say document.get element by ID. Element is a tag, right? So the tag that we want to get with the ID is going to be this div tag. So the ID that we want to select is output, which is right here. Okay, and then I'm going to change the inner HTML. The inner HTML is basically the text in between the tags. So the stuff down here. So if I had hey right here, the inner HTML of this div is hey. So I'm setting the text in between these div tags with the ID of output. I'm going to set it equal to message, because message holds this array. Okay, now if I run this, and this is good that this happened because this is a mistake that people run into a lot. Nothing happens, I can debug. Okay, and it says cannot set property inner HTML of null, which means it's trying to select this div tag, but it can't because it hasn't been loaded yet. JavaScript runs line by line. So when it got down to this line, it's trying to select this element with the ID of output. Well, it doesn't exist yet because it hasn't gotten to this line and it hasn't added it yet. So really what we can do is we can take this whole script tag and we're going to cut it. Okay, and I'm just going to come down here and put it right below, I guess right above the closing body tag. So now div will have time to be loaded. Now that div has been loaded, we'll be able to select it with the script and it should work. So let's take a look at it. Yep, there we go. Okay, now that's kind of hard to read, so we could come over here and concatenate some things onto it. So we can use the plus. I could say, I don't know, I could do some vertical lines here. That's going to separate them out, whatever I want to do there. Okay, now this is kind of the harder way of doing it. There's actually an easier way to do this with a loop. You can do an for in loop. So another quick way I can do this is just say for I in Ninja Turtles. Okay, and that works too. This loop's a lot easier to write. You don't have to worry about the condition. You don't have to worry about what happens when the loop is done. You don't really have to worry about most of the things. This is looking at, this loop is built for arrays. It just knows that, okay, I'm setting up a temporary variable called I, and what I is going to be equal to is the index locations of these values inside of the array. So I will be 0 and 1 and 2 and 3, just like it was before. But it knows that Ninja Turtle is going to be an array here, so it just treats it as an array, and it knows that it needs to run however many times there are values in that array. There's 4 values in this array, so this for in loop just knows, okay, I'm going to run 4 times. So it's a pretty cool loop. Whenever I'm working with arrays or objects or things like that, it's something that I think this loop is a lot better than the other one. So anyways, guys, hope that helped. If you have any questions, be sure to post those in the blog there. And if you want to learn more, feel free to sign up for any of our courses here at SkillForge. And Hope this was helpful, and we'll talk to you later. Have an awesome day.